The auction hall buzzed with alien chatter as species from across the galaxy gathered to bid on exotic specimens. The Vorthon slave traders had outdone themselves this time, claiming to have captured 5 rare creatures from a backwater planet called Earth. The females stood on the platform in their containment fields, looking deceptively fragile with their pale skin and soft features. Lot number 47, announced the auctioneer, a tall being with purple skin and 4 arms. 5 breeding females from the Terran system, completely docile and compliant, perfect for domestic service or entertainment. Amy pressed her lips together, fighting back a smile. The translator implant they'd forced on her allowed her to understand every word. Docile and compliant. If only they knew. Beside her, Lisa caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. The plan was simple. Let themselves be sold, gather intelligence, then signal for extraction. What the aliens didn't realize was that these 5 women were not helpless civilians, but elite operatives from the Terran Special Forces. The bidding began enthusiastically. A reptilian creature with golden scales raised his price paddle, followed by a blob-like entity that communicated through color changes. The women observed everything, memorizing faces, counting security personnel, noting escape routes. Sold to Merchant Prince Kral of the Nexus Trade Federation, the auctioneer declared as the gavel fell. Kral approached with his entourage, his serpentine body undulating across the floor. "Excellent specimens," he hissed, examining them like livestock. "They will fetch a premium price in the core worlds." As they were loaded into the transport ship, Emma whispered to Kate, "Remember, we stick to the cover story. We're just scared colonists who got captured during a mining expedition." Kate nodded, though her fingers were already working on the lock of her restraints. Years of training had taught her to escape from far more sophisticated bonds than these. The journey to Kral's stronghold took 3 days. During that time, the women learned that their captor controlled a vast network of slave routes throughout the Outer Rim. His fortress was heavily defended, positioned on an asteroid in a system with no habitable planets. Perfect isolation for his operations. "The buyers arrive tomorrow," Kral informed his lieutenant, a scarred warrior named Vex. "Prepare the merchandise for display. I expect each of these Terran females to bring at least 50,000 credits." What Kral didn't know was that the distress beacon Amy had activated during their staged capture had been received by the Earth Defense Force. More specifically, it had reached the desk of Admiral James Morrison, Amy's husband and commander of the EDF's most elite strike force. Deep in space, 5 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the asteroid system. Each vessel bore no markings, officially didn't exist, and carried a crew trained for impossible rescues. The lead ship was commanded by Jake Miller, Lisa's husband and leader of the Ghost Squadron. "Target acquired," he reported over the comm. "Tom, take your team around the back. Mike, you're with me on the main assault. David, keep that exit route clear." The 3 other commanders acknowledged. Each man knew his wife was somewhere in that fortress, and each was prepared to tear it apart with his bare hands if necessary. Back on the asteroid, the women had been put on display in an ornate chamber, filled with potential buyers. Amy noticed the security cameras had blind spots, Kate had mapped the ventilation system, and Emma had identified the power grid's weak points. Lisa kept track of guard rotations while Rose monitored communications, frequencies. "The bidding will commence shortly," Kral announced to his guests. "I guarantee these Terran females are completely harmless. Their species has no natural weapons or enhanced abilities." Amy almost laughed out loud. No natural weapons. Her hands were registered as lethal weapons in 17 systems. Emma could build explosives from cleaning supplies. Kate could kill someone with a spoon. The first explosion rocked the fortress just as the auction was about to begin. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as alarms wailed. Kral's guests panicked, scrambling for exits that suddenly weren't there anymore. "What's happening?" Kral demanded. His lieutenant checked the displays. "Unknown ships are attacking. They're using military-grade weapons and, sir, they're moving through our defenses like they know exactly where everything is." The second explosion was closer. Through the chaos, Amy heard a familiar voice over the fortress communication system. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to surrender our people before we turn this rock into dust. Amy grinned and looked at her teammates. Girls, I think our ride is here. The restraint fields flickered and died as Emma's sabotage of the power grid finally kicked in. The 5 women moved with deadly precision, their helpless captive act dropping instantly. Kate disabled 3 guards before they could draw weapons. Lisa secured the command console, while Rose jammed communications. Emma began placing charges at structural weak points. By the time Jake and his team breached the main chamber, they found their wives had already secured the area. Kral and his surviving lieutenants were bound and waiting. You're late, Amy said, kissing her husband as explosions echoed through the corridors. Traffic was murder, Jake replied. Ready to go home? As the fortress crumbled behind them and the slave auction burned, the rescue ships departed with their precious cargo. The galaxy's slave traders would think twice before targeting humans, again, especially after word spread about what happened to those who underestimated Earth's daughters. The 5 couples returned home as heroes, their mission a complete success. The alien slave network had been shattered, countless beings freed, and a clear message sent across the stars. Humanity protected its own, and somewhere in the depths of space, the story was already becoming legend.